Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel with me, Matthew Morgan. Before we kick off with today's review, I just want to say, as ever, we really appreciate your support with liking, subscribing to the channel. And as always, this video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show. It's in February next year. It's Valentine's weekend once more. So guys, you can get out of being at home on Valentine's Day. We'll see you there. We've got our stand already booked. So on to today's review, and you might recall a few weeks back we put that little 410 32-inch Elos 2 Fabarm through its paces over at Garland Shooting Ground. Fantastic experience. I'd never shot a 410 over until that point. I was very impressed by the gun as a whole, and I kind of thought, let's have a look at another Fabarm, because from my point of view, I've been in the trade now nearly 30 years. I think there's a massive misconception with the whole branding of Fabarm, and I feel like in the last 10 years that's changed massively. So I wanted to dig a bit deeper and see what they've been doing. So the gun we're going to look at today is the Fabarm Elos N2 RS Sporting. There's a mouthful. And the reason I've chose this gun is mainly because of the features it's got, but more importantly, the price point and how competitively priced it is in the current market against the likes of the big boys of Beretta and Browning, etc. So as I mentioned, I think there's a little bit of a misconception with the whole branding of Fabarm and the reputation that they've got, particularly here in the UK. Now, I can remember guns that were being manufactured 40 plus years ago with the Fabarm badge on, and the quality perhaps wasn't the best because we didn't have the innovation and the technology back then, which is the same for a lot of manufacturers. But of course, when you got guns up against the likes of the Beretta 680 Action, which is so good, it was very difficult to compete anyway. My main experience in the UK of Fabarm was when they were imported through Viking Arms. There was quite a lot of semi-auto sold in the UK, a few of the Axis models. We have looked at one of those before, so do check that out. It was the QRRR, whatever it was, the detachable ribs. But I think ultimately, Viking Arms didn't do the best job in terms of promoting the brand in the UK and kind of pushing forward with the technology they've got. However, in 2015, Fabarm was acquired by Cesar Guerini, which is a company we know a lot about in this country, and I'm sure people watching know about it worldwide. And because of that, there's a whole new raft of new generation Fabarms that I think really deserve a bit of attention. So now, under the Cesar Guerini banner, they are embracing the very latest in technology. Don't get me wrong, there's some stuff in this gun that's been out for quite a few years, which we'll come on to shortly. But I think, like I said, in terms of the price point, this is a gun that definitely grabbed my attention having shot that 410, and that's what's on the table today. As I mentioned, this is another of the Elos range. I don't know what Elos means, maybe it's some kind of albatross in Italian. I did Google it, but that didn't really come back with much. All as I got is a restaurant in High Wycombe. So I don't know what the Elos means. Obviously it's quite a catchy name. Now this is the Elos N2 RS Sporting. Obviously we know what Sporting is. RS historically stands for kind of rally sport. And if you look at this gun, it has got the kind of rally-esque lines. I believe the principal difference between the N2 and this is the N2 RS is that this has got an oil finish walnut stock, whereas the standard N2 has got the tri-wood Fabarm finish, which is kind of that, not laminated, but it's laser enhanced grain. It is traditional wood or real wood underneath, but it's got a finish on the top. The fore-end design is different, and also they've added a little bit more weight into the rear of the gun with this to make it a bit more appealing to people who like a faster swinging, faster moving set of barrels. So on to the action. It is satin black finish, really smart, I think. We have got these crazy decals in the white and the blue, but again, this is a competition gun. It's designed to go out and shoot clays. We don't need fancy engraving. We don't want pheasants and ducks on the side of the thing that have been shot. So we've got quite an understated, subtle design. Black with the blue. I'm not quite sure what's going on here on these hinge discs. We have got vacuum hardened. I mean, it looks a little bit like an inside out licorice all sort, but again, it's different. People like different. We live in a world where people don't want to conform with absolutely everything and have the same gun. So on the top of the action here, we have got like a Blockbusters design. I'm showing my age. I remember Blockbusters used to be on the telly with Bob Holness. Can I have a pea please, Bob? And this kind of triangular shaped pointy pyramid design, like I said, like Blockbusters, which again is different. It kind of breaks up the fact that it's got a satin black action and just adds a little element of a bit more racy kind of design. Same on the top lever, we've got more Blockbusters. The rest of it is completely matte black. I do like these barrel wings, the way they're kind of flared on the top and they sort of elongate. Satin black matte finish again. Onto the back strap, obviously we've got the serial number because we have to have. And then we've got a nice big chunky selector with the selectors done in 1 and 2 in red. Not dissimilar to the kind of Beretta design, I should say. And on the underside, we've got more Blockbusters. Can I have another P please, Bob? N2 RS. And we've got the nice Fabarm logo and the continuation of the S-stroke pointy triangular polygon type shapes going back into the trigger unit itself. And again, like we pointed out with the little 410 Elos BII, it's got 100% made in Italy. And I think it shows that the pride and the heritage in this company. They just kind of put wherever they can write something on action to show that it's theirs and they've done it and they've come up with the idea. They seem to be doing that. Matte finish trigger guard, and we've got a matte finished fully adjustable trigger. Multi-position, it's not like a Brownie, you don't only get 3 positions, same as a Beretta, don't get 3 positions. There are 4 or 5 positions on this little rail, and that is adjustable just by winding the grub screw out with the little Torx. In terms of the operation itself, the trigger is an inertia operated trigger. Right, onto the barrels. Now this is kind of one of the biggest feathers in Fabarm's cap. About 2005, I believe, when they used to make the old Axis model, which I think is also still built today. Fabarm came up with the idea of a tri-barrel system. So the idea behind this is not dissimilar to the Beretta SL2 in that you've got an overboring at the start, which is 18.4. Then I think you've got a parallel bit in the middle of the barrels, and then you've got a 205mm choke area, and the whole idea with that is it decreases any kind of friction. And what that did is for many years it gave Fabarm a massive edge over all the other manufacturers, because it enabled them to be able to manufacture a barrel and a choke system, which we'll come on to shortly, where you could shoot steel through full choke. So from the back end, we have got a polished lump with polished ejectors. We've got no engine turning here, a bit like you would get on a Guarini. Obviously, this is a gun that's manufactured to a lower price point. We have also got the same kind of ejector system as you get on the Caesar Guarini with the little removable little discs. And if you turn it upside down, it's not that dissimilar to an SO in terms of the way it locks up. It's got the 4 little feet like a chinchilla. The barrels themselves completely matte finish, and we have got a 10x8 taper sporting rib with a centre bead and a white foreside, ventilated top rib, ventilated barrels. Another huge thing for Fabarm is all their barrels are proof to 1630 bar, which is way over and above what any gun is proved at in terms of magnum pressure. So they actually put on the barrels here over pressure tested 1630. 3-inch chambers. So in terms of the strength that these barrels will give the shotgun, there's probably nothing on the market to touch it. I believe that Fabarm are the only company that do this in terms of the overpressuring and the 1630 bar. At the business end, we have got the hyperbolic Axis choke system. I know it sounds like a rugby injury, but it's actually a choke system from Fabarm. 97mm long, so a big long choke. And obviously you've got that 205mm choke area where the whole idea is to reduce the friction and slow the shot down, which will give you ultimately better patterning and better ballistics. And going back of course to the whole tri-bore system itself, so we've got tapered 18.4, big forcing cones, parallel bit in the middle, and then of course long bit to chuck the lead out at the end. As you would expect with something which is absolutely overproofed in terms of the pressure. This is massively high performance steel proof. So if you look at that as a design, as barrel technology, Fabarm have absolutely got everything covered. Just to mention, of course, this is a 30-inch gun. It's also available in 28 and 30 in the sporting variant. Onto the forend. Now this is where they've changed up the model from the N2 in their eyes to make it even better. I would have to agree with that. The previous model had got a schnabel forend. You go around shooting ground, you see a lot of people with removed schnabels, or more and more guns these days are coming with this kind of London flat-sided pattern, rounded pattern, and that's exactly what Fabarm have done here. They've removed the lip just to make it a bit more ergonomically designed for the shooter and to be more comfortable in the hand. The forend iron, satin black matte finish again, with more blockbuster-esque patterns, which again, I quite like. In fact, it looks a little bit like a fidget spinner, so you all know what that is. Inside the forend itself, we have got what looks to be a removable cocking dog. Again, that's a real thing, not something I've just made up. And the idea with that, a little bit like the Caesar Guarini Invictus range, I would imagine, is that the parts can be easily removed and updated, replaced, whatever, without the need for a gunsmith. Checker in, double point, we love that. In fact, we've got triple point on the back, something like the back of a Batman comic, and a nice point going down into the bottom of the forend iron. It's got the standard catch that you get on all Fabarm over and unders. The only thing I would say is I particularly like the recess, because if you've got quite big fingers, you can still get in there and give it a squiz. Onto the stock, which again is where Fabarm claim to have made an improvement over the original N2 model by making it a little bit more stock heavy. And the idea behind that is if you are a shooter that struggles to get any kind of speed out your barrels, by having a stock heavy gun, it gives you that automatic kind of whip to be able to push through targets. Obviously the downside of that is you've then got to stop it once you've got it going. That will all come with, of course, shooting experience over time. So what we've got here, we've got a little bit more innovation from Fabarm. So this is the model which has got the oil finish walnut stock. Now, it's a nice piece of wood. It is I believe grade 2, something like that. The only thing I would say, being out here in the sun, it's quite easy to see the holes that are in the grain, so this could probably benefit from a little bit more treatment. But I have to say, if you put this against a gun of a similar price, which I will come on to at the end, you probably wouldn't get as nice a piece of wood with all the features to boot. Double point checker in, well, you've got a little one in the middle, so it's kind of a triple point checker in. We've got a palm swell, and also we've got quite a nice big pistol grip. Some of the guns on the market, which are kind of aimed at competition shooters, I'll give the XS Pro for example, it's a little bit too skinny and it's not quite long enough in the grip for a lot of people. Fabarm have got this, very, very good. I don't know what the measurement is here, but I think it's probably somewhere between 90 and 100 mil, so it doesn't give you too tight a radius, so you're all hunched up when you're holding the gun. So in terms of the back end, we haven't got a balancing system or anything like that, but what we have got, we've got a factory adjustable comb. And again, this is a bit more innovation and development design from Fabarm. They've come up with this thing called Micrometric 3D, which does sound like some kind of Minecraft snack, but it's not. Okay, it's all to do with their adjustable comb system, which first of all, as you can see, this is actual wood. It's got the appearance of being a soft comb, but it is wood, again, done in this satin black matte finish. So how it works is to do with a series of threaded pivots and rotating blocks. Yes, I sound like a physics teacher. And that ensures that when the comb is adjusted, that when it's locked down, because of the way the edge of the post is kind of shaped, that it locks in and it won't move at all. That's really good, because if we go back to previous videos I've done on things like the Browning 525 and the early Ultra XS, it's a dreadful design, and once you've wound it up and tightened it for a number of times, all it does is it marks the posts internally, and then you struggle to get as good a hold with your Allen key. But no problems with this. Like I say, a bit more innovation from Fabarm, nice to see that. Recoil pad, this is an air cell microcore type of recoil pad, very similar to the Beretta, almost certainly made by the same manufacturer, which I think is Cervellati, which is Italian. Remember, this gun is 100% made in Italy, so that would make absolute sense. 377mm length of pull, which is between 14.75 and 14.8 inches, so it's a nice good length of pull. However, I would say with that sort of 25mm recoil pad, I would like to see a little bit more wood, or maybe another pad just to give that profile pad system, which a lot of competition orientated guns now offer. So how about the balance test? This gun weighs 8 pounds 4 ounces. Now remember what we spoke about, and remember that it said the idea behind the new RS Sporting model was it was a little bit more stock heavy to enable the shooter to have a different shooting experience. And as you can see there, it's just got a little bit of tip in the back end, which is what pretty much Fabarm say it does. I'd imagine that what they've done there is they have presumably made the stock a little bit heavier, which would make sense with this deep pistol grip. And whilst we're on the stock, what about the comb height? We've got 37mm drop at comb, 57mm drop at heel. For me, that's a little bit too low. Obviously, looking at this 3D metric monster truck, there's quite a lot of movement, which is good. I would like to see a little bit higher to start with, because then that would just make it all round. You know, you could use it for a bit of sporting, bit of DTL. Having said that, I do believe they do manufacture an Elos trap version as well, so they've kind of got the market covered. So onto the box, we've got this nice blue Fabarm box with the red logo. We've got made in Italy once more. Again, they're showing they're very proud of their heritage. We've got the little lion in the corner, and also it's kind of like this grain finish that looks like the underside of a dinosaur's bunion, but you know, it works well and it makes it a bit more grippy. Got 3 locks. It is not airline approved because of the way, of course, it opens and closes. If you want to take this on a plane, you would have to put it in a different box, basically. So inside the box, first of all, we've got the Fabarm choke box, which has got the lion on it. And this is where we look at those massively long 97mm hyperbolic Exis HP chokes. Obviously the HP stands for high performance. It's nothing to do with that famous brown sauce we all love here in the UK. Now they're graded slightly differently. We've got numbers, and also we've got what on the side of them is written medium or long range or extra long range. So we actually go 5 is half, and 9 is full, and I think there's a 2 and a 7 in the gun, so you get 4 in total, which gives you a good range to do pretty much whatever you want from about quarter to up to full. Nicely produced chokes. We've got a nice choke box specific to the gun, if you like. It's Fabarm branded with a nice little, you know, you could play noughts and crosses in there if you wanted to. Back inside the box, choke key with a thread cleaner. Again, you don't see that very often these days, only with Fabarms and Guarinis to my knowledge, so that's a nice little touch. If you don't know what a thread cleaner is, it's for cleaning out your threads. So all that crap you get in the back of your multi-chokes, periodically you take your choke out, you give it a winding with a little bit of oil, and it will lift all the crud for you to then put your fluffy mop up and remove accordingly. Now this is special, this is the 1630 bar proof certificate to show that in the proof housing guide only of Valtrompia, this gun has been through and someone has fired a Megatron missile through it to make sure that it's up to it, and that's where we get this whole over pressurizing thing with the tri-bore barrels. So that is completely unique to Fabarm, you won't see it with any other shotgun. Attention, improper assembly and disassembly of your shotgun may result in damage. It's funny that, because when I last reviewed a Fabarm, which was at 410, as I took it out the box, I dropped it on the floor. So I can absolutely wholeheartedly vouch for that statement, okay? Book of words, which again is very generic. There'll be a lot in there that doesn't relate to this particular gun, things like the adjustment of high ribs and that kind of stuff, and balancing systems, a bit like they've got in some of the Caesar Guerini models, but it's a book of words nevertheless. 10-year warranty we've already spoke about. Again, a nice little touch, we've got some Fabarm branded barrel and stock socks just to keep it nice and secure while it's in transit. And even the attention to detail with the set of Allen keys, this actually says Fabarm, the tool. I mean, there's plenty of tools in the gun trade, I'm sure you'll agree with me, but you get 4 with this bad boy. And that is pretty much it. So I know what you're saying, well, you've covered the gun, you've talked about the overboring, the proofing, the special chokes, but how much does it cost? So one of the reasons I chose this particular model was absolutely because of the price point. Now, there's always a kind of a psychological barrier with anything consumer based. When people decide to buy something, they always kind of set themselves a budget. And as we talk quite a lot on this channel about the currency I tend to refer to, this gun is under 2 Freddos. Put that into perspective, you've got a gun here with a 10-year warranty, an adjustable comb, an adjustable trigger, multi-choke. It's been specifically balanced for a type of sporting, probably for a UK market more than anything else. You can put high performance steel through it. In fact, there's nothing you can't shoot through it at all because it's 3-inch chambers. It's got these super long chokes. So in terms of recoil, the forcing cones will lend itself to having a nice soft shooting gun with the microcore pad. There's a lot of innovation, a lot of technology in that gun. If you were to buy something that's made just down the road in guard only Valtrompia, beginning with B, you were probably looking about another 1,500 cartridges worth of money on top, and it takes you over that psychological barrier. And because of that, I just think that people need to kind of get this thing out of their head that Fabarm is maybe one of the lesser makes. And for me, what I've seen in the last month or so, they absolutely rule the mid-range in terms of the price point, the quality, the after sales and the warranty. I would highly recommend, if you are looking to take up the sport and you want a gun that's full of features without going over 2 Freddos, you have a look at one of these. That has been a fab little Fabarm. That's the Elos N2 RS Sporting with me, Matthew Morgan, at Eastfield Gunroom. If you've got any questions about this particular gun, please do contact me directly. If you've got any comments, feel free to comment below. You might have owned a Fabarm years ago and it wasn't so great, and now you think, oh, well, this looks all right. Definitely have a look at one, would be my recommendation. Don't forget to check out the website. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if there's anything you particularly want to see in terms of a request for a review, please send them to me and I'll do my best to bring them to you. As ever, the video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show. It's now looking forward to 2026, so get your tickets booked today and we will look forward to seeing you then. From me in the Staffordshire sunshine, I'll see you next week.